My fellow Americans, I come to you here in the start of a series about our past as a human species, and how that past and its documents, events, artifacts, and monuments have influenced where we are today as the United States of America. I had thought it best to start that series with not just something fundamental, something that has formed a foundation to the edifice of our current existence, but rather the bedrock beneath that foundation itself. In another video, I will speak on the very first wave of immigrants, of the very first wave of human immigrants that have come to this North American continent, that have defined its existence in human experience as a place of immigrants. Those that came, of course, from the West, over the land bridge from the Asian continent, back all those many thousands of years ago. While they did prove archaeologically significant and historically significant, they have, through the vagaries of history and all of the rights and wrongs therein, not proved particularly culturally relevant to much of our present existence here in the North American continent, and there is certainly some loss in that particular variety, but it's the sad but glaring truth of the matter. Our foundations here on wide, bright Columbia are from rather the second major wave of immigration, which came from the East, the European settlers. And so to treat upon where our cultural roots are as a nation, the tracings of our foundational documents, our Constitution, our Declaration of Independence, I find it more important to speak on the roots of law, of nation, of polity, in a European sense. The two main branches of European legal thought can be traced back to, of course, the more notable and impactful of the two would be the Lex Romanicus, the 12 Tables of Rome, but more relevant, and that's certainly more of an international impact, more of a specifically European impact. Uniquely to the Americas, there seems to be a rather greater emphasis on the other great footing of legal thought in a European context. The Visigothic law codes of the Lex Barbaricus, the German, the proto-German rather, early law. Most notably different between these two main bodies of thought about how it is best for bodies of people to come together and govern themselves and their members is that they each recognize a conflict between the needs of society and the needs of those members. And they conflict with each other on the proper conclusion to that conflict, which is greater, the whole or the one. From what I've read so far today, Roman law is very explicitly and expressly and singularly focused on the needs of the many over the few, and how this traces through the laws of the Romantic countries, with its primary influence on French Enlightenment thinking and on the theology and canon law of the Roman Church, is very impressive. This idea of incorporation that even now founds the basis of our corporate law here in the United States. It's a deep and wide river of thought which has spilled out, but of less official note, but certainly of at least equal impact, has proven to be the proto-Germanic law, which construes the existence of the whole only as it relates from the one, not to the one. It recognizes a series of privileges that individuals hold, and these things which are core to the individual can only be infringed upon, can only be trodden on by wider elements of society when sufficient justification is present. This individualistic streak through the German law is foundational to much of our understanding of individualistic punishments for individualistic actions. It has proved a core basis for our Bill of Rights, particularly of particular note the right to self-defense, which has woven its way down from proto-Germanic law down through the Deutsches Recht, the Staatswesen, the town privileges, the municipal concerns, the thought that an individual responsible for their actions and for their defense at all times, and only when they came into a place where there were more people that how would I best put this? The individual qualities of the individual did not go away. One might be required to turn in their sword at a town gate, not to give up their right of self-defense, but to centralize, to show willing to share that defense with us. The thought that the societal need over the individual need was only justified in sort of a mutual fulfillment of individual quality. I'm not really explaining this well. There's a lot of very old words involved and a lot of very deep thought that goes back many thousands of years. And that's gone through quite a lot of time, and I see it very clearly reflected even now in our second constitutional amendment. The thought that a person has individual qualities and individual responsibilities which give them individual privileges to fulfill those responsibilities, to guard those qualities, is something found very clearly throughout Old German law, and is rather less emphasized in Roman law. And it is in the intersection of the German and the Roman laws that our modern understanding of law has there grown out from. The English law is a rather more Germanic with a little Roman mixed in, whereas French law was more of a Roman with a little German mixed in, and then the United States drew rather heavily from both of those, and as well as the Iroquois Compacts and the Great Law of Peace, which I will treat on in another video coming up pretty quick here. And those are, sort of one of the core issue, the basal footings of one of the core issues which has us questioning our American existence even today. We're not alone in all that we've got to worry about. We're not alone in all of the problems and quandaries that we face. Though the details are certainly different, many of the core issues which we struggle with in our legal understandings today have been wrestled with by others in other places and in other times. And it now falls to us to take up that mantle, to face those challenges, to do what we see best, and ideally, to make the world a better place. So to that end, I would once again care to encourage any of my viewers to please go out into the world, find those issues that prove difficult, find those things that are imperfect, and do what you can. Make this world a better place. In the course of my research, I did get a bit distracted and found that apparently a number of Mr. Trump's supporters have been going out and collecting garbage. And while I do not certainly agree with all of Mr. Trump's proposals, it is this sentiment among his supporters which I cannot help but admire. This willingness to not rely upon the government, not willing to wait for the solution to be offered, but willing to stand up of their own will and under their own power to make things better. That's a very powerful thing, and that's something for which we can all be thankful. That all being said, I wish you all a wonderful evening, and I will make another message for you all again here shortly.